All right, everybody, welcome to this very interactive session. I will be asking you in this session to tell me which actions you would like to try so that we can bend the greenhouse gas emissions curve down so that we meet the targets, the climate targets of the Paris Agreement and limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and strive for 1.5. My name is Florian Kapmeier. I'm a professor at the ESB Business School in Germany, and I'm a research affiliate of the MIT Sloan School of Management and a team member of the MIT Climate Pathways project. Let's have a very quick look at what the project is about before we dive into this interactive session. And I want you to take out your phones already now, because you will be using your phones to give me your choices. All right, so in this project, we are leveraging interactive simulations to advance the adoption of evidence-based climate policy through leaders from in the public and private sector. And why are we doing this? Why are we using simulation? Well, if I ask you here now in this room, which actions do you think will have the biggest impact on the climate and in time, I most probably get as many answers as there are people in the room, if not more. So the options that we are seeing on climate and collective actions are overwhelming. So we need some guidance in order to identify those actions that actually are grounded in the best available science, that have the largest impact and significant impact, and in time to make the difference. And that's why we're using these simulations. And we're using with these two C-roads and N-roads. I want to please ask you to raise your hand if you have seen or worked with one or the other. And honestly, I'm not sure whether I want many hands to go up. Yeah, it's a decent number, great. But why are we using simulation? Why not showing you slides and show you the research findings on climate? Well, most of you already know a lot about climate change, but most importantly, how John Sturman, the faculty director of the MIT Climate Sustainability Initiative, points out is that research shows that showing people research doesn't work. One-way communication to the people when researchers are showing the slides, long and boring PowerPoint presentations does not necessarily lead to behavior and policy change. So we need these simulations. So our simulations have been used by more than 400,000 people around the world in more than 170 countries. And how are we doing this? It's not our small team, but we are working with more than 800 En-ROADS climate ambassadors who have gone through a for-free training. And you can do this also if you haven't done so. Who is in the audience? Who is an En-ROADS climate ambassador? I know that Roberto is here. There's Jeroen over there. Any others? So we have a great potential here for more of you becoming En-ROADS climate ambassadors and do the same thing that I'm doing here with you now, with yourself, with your friends and in your organizations and so on. Our team here, we have engaged, our focus is on engaging with leaders, and we have engaged 18,000 leaders, among those are more than 5,000 in government and almost 7,000 in business and so on. Here are a few quotes by these leaders. So my engagement with En-ROADS was one of the most inspiring conversations on climate change I've ever had, is saying Jim Hagemann-Snabe, who's now the chairman of the supervisory boards of Maersk and Siemens. And you see some others. On the right is Roberta Barbieri, vice president of PepsiCo, and she's saying, I really like this, En-ROADS lit my brain on fire. And I'm going to show you why this was so, and I hope that it's also putting your brain on fire. So here is the model. I'm going to briefly show you and go through the model and what you see here. So first of all, most importantly, it is available for free. So you can go online and look for En-ROADS and Climate Interactive, and you will find it. And then it's available in more than 20 languages, and you can pick the one that you prefer. It is co-developed by the my colleagues at the MIT Sloan School of Management and the non-for-profit think tank Climate Interactive. It is grounded in the best available science, and it is completely transparent. This means that you can change the assumptions. You can go here and go deep into the assumptions and change them according to your understanding. If you don't agree with my ideas or our ideas of our assumptions, and we believe that they are grounded in the best available science, you can do this and change them according to your understanding. The sun is really bright, so I have to do this here. All right, so what you see here, you can choose from a large variety of graphs, and what they're all showing is behavior over time from 2000 to 2100. Say it again.
We don't see that.
Oh, you don't see this? Now it should be on. Is it okay? Yes. All right. But now okay. Do you see it now? You don't see it? They don't see it. Now you see it. All right. All right, one more time. Oh. Yeah, round of applause. So, one more time. Here you can choose from the more than 20 languages. The assumptions you can change down here, and it's a whole variety of the critical areas in the model that where you can change your assumptions. And I don't see my mouse. There it is. And well, you can choose from a large variety of different graphs here, depending on what you're really interested. I'm going to these graphs back here. So you see this time horizon from the year 2000 to 2100. And I shall make this bigger. So here you can see the energy mix. The energy mix in a typical baseline scenario. And on the bottom you see the dark wedge is the burning of coal above, the burning of oil, natural gas in blue above, renewables in green, and in the model it's separately simulated solar, wind, and hydro, and geothermal. On top is all sorts of bioenergy, and then you have nuclear on top. And by the energy mix, you realize that, oh, this is not representing my country, but this is a global model. So this is the global energy mix. How do we get there? How do we assume that this is going on? Well, first of all, our major assumption is that this is in line with the UN median fertility scenario, that there will be roughly 2 billion more people on the planet. And here you can see where these people will mostly be. And here you can see also how fast En-ROADS works. Is if you don't agree with this assumption, you can change the population, and you see that these thousands of equations are running in real time. So more people, and we also assume an increase of economic growth in all the regions of the world. And you can also change these assumptions if you like. So more people with more economic growth. We also assume, this is the energy intensity here, this is that there's technological progress. So we need less energy to produce our goods and services. And for this, we also have a reduced carbon intensity of the final energy, which means that we are greening slowly the energy grid. And this is leading to these emissions here. Now, these emissions you can see here, so the burning of the fossil fuels down here, they lead to the black wedge of these fossil fuel CO2 emissions. And you see that the fossil fuel emissions are the largest chunk of emissions that we are expecting here. In addition to these emissions, we have CO2 emissions from land use, for example, when we are deforesting, and for the food production, for our food that we are eating, and also the food that the animals are eating that we are then eating. Then we have F-gases, fluorinated gases, so a very potent greenhouse gas, mostly coming from industrial processes on top, here in this yellow color. CH4, methane, a very potent greenhouse gas on top in light blue. And then we have nitrous oxide, primarily coming from agricultural processes, and methane, you know, from agriculture and and industrial processes. You need to know that we have very carefully calibrated the model to historical data. You can go down here in these graphs and have a look at how we are doing this. So here you see, for example, the learning curve in place for marginal cost of solar electricity. You see the data, for example, here from IEA, and we work with all other peer-reviewed data from the IPCC and so on. And you see how En-ROADS fits, and so you can do this visual testing, but then, of course, we also have statistical testings online, which you can also access. And the future projections of this model is tested against the behavior of the integrated assessment models, of the large climate models, to different scenarios. All right, so this future, which you can see here with these burning of the fossil fuels and this energy mix and these greenhouse gas emissions, is creating an increase of global temperature, which you see right here. In this scenario, in this baseline scenario, we're going to blast through the 1.5 degree target of the Paris Agreement at the end of this decade. And it continues and blasts through the second goal of the Paris Agreement, 2 degrees, by the mid of the century. And it just continues on that path without slowing down, 3.3 until the end of this century. This is unacceptable. Now, why? Why is this unacceptable? We can have a look at many, many impacts, and I've picked a few. For example, this one here is air pollution. More than 7 million people are dying prematurely every year because of bad air quality. PM 2.5 are these little particles that go deep in your lungs and create many, many lung and heart diseases, diabetes, dementia, and so on. Big burden on health coverage. We see that crop yield is going down. So here we are seeing the 4 most important grains: maize, wheat, and rice. And we will have less of these in a warming world, while we have 2 billion more people on the planet. So this is going to be difficult. We can look at sea level rise. 70 centimeters more of sea level rise until the year 2100, and you see that the sea level rise is accelerating. So we can look at what this means for different areas of the world. So I've prepared a few graphs here. This is our shore here in north of France, Netherlands, and Germany, and also UK. And this is all the land that is under risk only because of this sea level rise of 70 centimeters. So this means that many people have to move because the seawater, salt water, is going into the drinking water supply. Other regions to look at is the Gulf Coast of the US, between New Orleans and Houston. This is the fossil fuel base, so many of the drillings is happening there. This land is all under risk. And there's also hurricanes coming in this region with 5-meter storm surges. So let's have a look what happens if we, in addition to the sea level rise because of the ice melting, a storm surge of, let's say, 4 meters in this area. This means total devastation. In addition to the infrastructure, it's also we're harming these people. Other regions of the world, Shanghai with a 4-meter storm surge, total devastation. Millions of people have to move somewhere else. And if you believe that, okay, here in France and Paris we are safe because we are far from the coast, this will also affect you wherever you are on the planet. It doesn't matter whether you live high up in the mountains, because if there's nuclear confrontation between, for example, Pakistan and India on the displacement of climate refugees in the Indus Delta, it will also affect you. Another one is heat days. So this is the map of heat days above 30 degrees C in the year 2000, and you see that here in our region it was between roughly about 1 week where we had this 25 years ago. Now I'm moving fast forward to the year 2100 in this baseline scenario, and you see how the heat is moving north. And for us, it means 1 month of heat where the temperature in the cities do not cool down anymore in the heat summer days, so which is a complete stress on our bodies, so we can't recover. It's also affecting productivity in companies. Here you see drought in agriculture. 2000, so 25 years back, we had roughly 3 years, possibility of 3 years, up to between 1 and 3 years of droughts per 10 years. In the baseline scenario, you see how this all moves up. And look what happens in Spain, for example. This means this is complete drought in this region. So think about where your tomatoes are coming from. Talked about rosemary earlier with one of the here. So this is not going in line with our ideas of health and prosperity, because these people here in these regions down here, when there's a drought, they will be leaving their countries. They will be coming to the areas where it is, where the situation is not so dire. But many people are saying, but we can't afford it because it's too expensive. Here we see on the upper left is the economic development, and make it larger. So you see 3 lines. The dashed line is the one where there's no impact from climate change on the economy, economic development, and the other 2 lines are with an impact. And we know there's impact because there's droughts, there's wildfires, and so on. And you might see, well, this is not so much here. It's okay, we can handle this. But I want you to put your eyes here a little bit to 2020. This is COVID. Remember, it's only 5 years past now. This is this has led to big steps of government stepping in, helping organizations. This was very expensive, and this has also led to the political divide in many societies. There was just a discussion about democracy just earlier. Here you see the link between climate change and the threat on democracy. So, just to be clear, this future is unacceptable. It is not in line with our understanding of prosperity, health, and safety. 3.3 and on the path to catastrophe. So we're not going to do this. We're not going to accept this. I want you to open your. Take your phone now, and now we are going to the slides. Okay, now you see it like this. Sorry, it shouldn't be. Okay, then maybe do it like this. Right. Not this one here. We're going to use another one. I want you to turn your heads to your neighbors while I'm opening this and think about what are the climate policies with which you want to tackle the crisis and bend down the emissions curve all the way down. So talk to your neighbors. Talk. I want to hear you talking. All right. And I also want you to take out your phone now and all right, and scan this QR code. Scan the QR code, please. Now I want to have the Pulse software up, please. All right, and here are a few options, climate options. So you open it, you skip for now, you don't have to type in your name. And then if you have done this, then you should be having, can we have my screen? I need to step out of the PowerPoint. There you go. Okay. So here you see a very large set of options. Do you see this on your screen? Yes, excellent. All right. So what are the options that you can choose from? You can discourage fossil fuels, pricing carbon pollution. You can encourage bioenergy or renewable energy or nuclear. Or you can think about, yes, I believe in that there's a breakthrough in nuclear fusion. A technology that scientists have worked for a long time already. Or you can say, I want to improve energy efficiency, or I want to electrify everything, more electric cars, more heat pumps in the houses, reduce deforestation, or I believe in shifting to plant-based diets, or nature-based solutions like afforestation, or using carbon dioxide removal technologies, reducing agricultural emissions, and reducing waste and leakage. So, it doesn't work. What? It's blocked? I don't understand why. So, now? Now we have, yes. Now? Does it work now? Can you click something? But I activate it. Activate and present. Still not? Where do you see this? Oh, this? Oh, okay, sorry. I've never seen this button. I don't know why this was there. All right, oh, wonderful. Answers are coming in, so you were preparing all this? Fantastic. Oh, great. So we already have, 200 answers. Oh. So, no, I don't clear the responses. So, are you as excited as me? You also want to know what's going on? What are your choices? I'm going to hit the button. All right. And what are your favorite choices? All right. Discourage fossil fuels, pricing carbon pollution, renewable energy, reducing deforestation, plant-based diets. All right. Yeah. That sounds great. So let's start with, how about we start with phasing out fossil fuels, as you were suggesting. All right, so you can do this here, and discouraging, for example, coal, oil, and gas. And for this, before I do this, I want to ask you, what do you think, because En-ROADS is not an answering machine, what do you think is the impact if we are reducing coal? So we are phasing out coal. What do you think is going to be the impact on the climate? And for this, I also have a question for you. So let's see, it's unlocked. All right, what do you think is going to be the impact on the temperature? So you have to think. So you have less coal, you're burning less coal, for example, and then what is the impact on the energy mix? How will the energy mix respond to this? What's the impact on the on emissions, and what will be the impact on the temperature? All right, so most of you think, and that's great, that's a great picture, because we see that not everybody agrees here But most of you are thinking, so almost half believe that the temperature will go down to 2.5 to 2.9. But some of you say, no, it's not so much. And 6% of you believe that phasing out coal will actually get us to meeting the Paris Agreement. So let's try that. So we are disincentivizing coal. So I'm moving that slider a little to the left. And you see that we are burning less coal here. You see this on the bottom. There you go. And so we really make it expensive. So, and now let's redo this all the way through. So like this. So it has worked. It has brought down the temperature from 3.3 to 3.2, 1/10 of a degree. It is less than most of you thought, much less. But don't get me wrong, every 1/10 of a degree counts. Every 1/10 of a degree is important to get down the temperature. So when I replay this, let's have a look at the energy mix. So we see that we are burning less coal, and because we are burning less coal at the same time, we see that the green wedge is larger. So we are replacing the coal, for example, with more renewables. And I think the blue wedge also goes a little bit up. So we are replacing the coal with gas. And by the way, that's exactly what happens in my country, in Germany, where I'm from. Let's have a look whether this is really the case. So here we have less coal. And let's have a look at gas. Yeah, gas is up because it is substituting the coal. And it is emitting less carbon dioxide. So it could be good. But actually, there is less. Okay, good. Second idea was to push renewables. So what do you think happens if we are pushing renewables? So we are incentivizing the renewables. And for this, you need to know that we are already assuming an increase of renewables until the year 2100. What do you think is going to be the impact on the energy mix and the emissions if we are incentivizing renewables? So I'm going to clear the responses. There you go. And activate. And now, again, what do you think is going to be the temperature in the year 2100 when we subsidize renewables on top of phasing out the coal? So we are at 3.2. Where do you think is it going to be? So, okay, so most of you are now primed because more than half believe it is between 3 and 3.3. But still, some of you believe that, yes, it will be all the way down to the Paris Agreement. So let's do it. Are you ready? I want to hear some noise. Are you ready for these subsidies? Yes, there we go. All right, now we're talking. All right, 2 cents per kilowatt hour. 3, 4. Well, it is already getting cheap, but in total, again, it's only 1/10 of a degree. What is going on? What is going on? Why is it not more? And I have to say that most of the politicians I talk to, they actually believe that subsidizing renewables would phase out the fossils, but it's not going to happen. So what are we seeing here? We are seeing the marginal cost of electricity production, and we already see that renewables are the cheapest source of energy today. By subsidizing them even more, they will become almost, you will get them for free. But why is it that it's not pushing out the fossil fuels as much? Because there has always been an energy mix also in the past, as you can see right here. Also, the more expensive ones have been used, and that's also the case here. So we need other solutions for this. Let's have a look at what others were, and you can still. So what else was chosen? Oh, pricing carbon pollution. Oh, reducing deforestation. Let's do carbon pricing now. Again, same exercise as before. I want you to think, what is a carbon price? What does a carbon price do on the temperature? We are now at 3 and clear responses. Clear. Activate. Present. So we are at 3.1. Where do you think is going to be the temperature in the year 2100 with a carbon price? And let's assume a carbon price of maybe $100 per ton. So it's a little bit more than what the carbon price in the European trading system is at the moment. All right, 2.5 to 2.9. So half of you. So let's try. Are you ready? Okay, louder. Are you ready for a carbon price of $100 per ton? Okay, thank you. Here we go. 3.1 to 2.8. So that carbon price is much higher. The impact of the carbon price is much higher than from the climate solutions before. But now let's test out what the carbon price is if we are doing one of 180, which is what the scientists for futures, what they are asking for. So 2.7. And the interesting thing is that we have already phased out the fossil, so coal and subsidized renewables. Let's test a new clean scenario and just do $180 per ton of carbon. Oops. Sorry, I don't know what this is. So just do the 180 right here in a clean scenario. 3.3, 2.7. So this is huge. The impact of the carbon price is huge on the climate system compared to the others that we have tested before. Now the question is, why is this? Why is the carbon price so strong? Well, let's have a look at the energy mix. The energy mix with such a high carbon price, you see that all the fossil fuels are reduced, less coal, it's almost completely phased out, less gas and less oil. And at the same time, we see that renewables are really pushed by that carbon price. At the same time, the carbon price is also affecting the demand side of energy. So for example, with a high carbon price, people are paying more attention to, I don't drive all these travels by car anymore because gasoline has become more expensive. I switch the lights off. I might insulate my house, or I'm asking my landlord to insulate the apartment in which I live in and put in new windows. I might also consider driving an EV compared to an internal combustion engine because the gasoline prices have become so high. But wait a minute, with such a high carbon price, the argument is often, but how about the poor? The poor can't afford this. Who can give me an idea about how we can make use of the high potential of the carbon price and at the same time not forget the poor? What is it? Tax, yeah? Climate money, yes, so something like a climate dividend. So the governments are getting lots of money with the carbon price. This is billions of dollars or euros every year. So we need to give this money back to the people. And many studies show that when we do this, the bottom half of the income distributions at the end of each month has more, because the dividend that they will receive is higher than the cost, because their carbon footprint is so small. Therefore, the net return is positive for them. So us, the affluent, more affluent, that would probably also include me. Yes, that includes me. And many of us here in the room, we would pay more, but the lower half of the income distribution would have more. And you can look at this. So here in France, you had the Yellow Vest movement because the president increased the price for carbon, but there was no carbon dividend. In Germany, in my country, they are discussing the same thing. It has to be installed. It has to be done so we get acceptance of the population. It is absolutely critical to do this because we don't want to stress the democracy even more. So maybe, thank you. Yeah, and you have to fight for this. So you have to argue with your local politicians to actually implement this, get the impacts of the carbon price in place, and at the same time not forget the poor. And let me say this is not only a case for within one country. We should also think about the global north and the global south. So the global north that has received all the benefits from burning all the fossil fuels over the last 150, 180 years with the beginning of industrialization, but who is suffering the most from this is the global south. So with the loss and damage fund that was installed in Scotland at the COP, and that was reinforced in Sharm el-Sheikh at the COP, which is $100 billion every year. This is many people say that this is something like charity or aid. It is not. It is I can think of a fairer idea of actually preventing and helping the people in the global south to deal with the impacts of climate change that are coming. It should be in our self-interest to do this. Nobody wants to leave his or her own country. Nobody wants to be a refugee. So with this carbon price, we can make sure that people are staying where they are so they can enjoy their lives and healthy lives and enjoy cultural opportunities and education in their own country, in their own cultures. So it should be in our self-interest to do this. All right, so in addition to the carbon price, we can do whatever we've done earlier on. So we can, there's no more coal, we can subsidize the renewables, and maybe with including these, we can also do more, for example, on storage, right? So the wind doesn't blow all the time, the sun doesn't shine in the night, so we can have more regular storage and also hydrogen storage, in addition to help the renewables to do even more. Next thing was deforestation, so stopping deforestation. So let's try this. What is the impact of deforestation? So you can go here, and so there we go. So we don't need as many trees. So you see that because of the carbon price and renewables, we don't need to burn as much forests for bioenergy. So therefore, this deforestation has already reduced, and there's also impacts with food as well. So when we reduce deforestation, so look at the green wedge down here, you see that the emissions from land use have gone down, and this was another 1/10 of a degree. So there you go. So you see that the green wedge has decreased. 2.6 now, still a long way to go, and let's have a look at what your other solutions were that you suggested. So encourage renewable, improving energy efficiency. Let's do this. So energy efficiency. What do you think about energy efficiency? Insulating your houses. All the businesses should work on energy efficiency. If the businesses are not doing this, the managers are not doing their job, because this is money laying on the street and you just need to put it up. So energy efficiency means that we don't need as much. And energy efficiency is another very strong lever. Have you seen what happens on the left-hand side? We don't need as many windmills. We don't need as many solar panels. So this is helping a lot. Then energy efficiency in transportation, which means better public transportation. When walking around Paris, it is wonderful how Paris managed to move all the cars out of the city. More opportunities for pedestrians, more bike lanes. Not only think about Paris and Europe, but also think about what this means for other big cities in the world. So look at the red wedge on the left side, how it's going down. It also means smaller cars, less SUVs. But what about the cars that we have, let's electrify them. So more EVs on the street, so will be good. So we are seeing the example over there of an electric car of the future, and electrify more in buildings and industry. So this means more heat pumps. We are down to 2.3. So we are getting there, but you see already that we need many, many solutions, and we have already identified the ones with the biggest impacts, carbon price and energy efficiency. But now when you look at where the emissions are coming from, it has now become the non-CO2 emissions. So the emissions from industrial processes and from land use, F-gases, CH4 and N2O. So we need to tackle these, and we do this right here. One prominent solution was move towards plant-based diets. So we can test this in the model. We can do this right here, and we want to go to the detailed settings. And we are assuming that 30% of the population will have food from animals by the year 2100. And this it's not only means steaks, but also, sorry to say this in France, but cheese and other dairy products. So what do you think about where this is going? And note that compared to the solutions that we've tested earlier, this is a behavior change. So this is different to install, but you are suggesting to do this, that we will eat less food from animals, and let's maybe put this down to 20%. And what you've seen is that the emissions from agriculture have decreased, and it was another 1/10 of a degree. But we need to do more. So we can, for example, go with best practices in agriculture on methane, and also methane nitrous oxide from crops. What else can we do? Reduce food waste. We're throwing away a lot of food. So you see there how these go down. We can tackle waste and leakage from the industrial system. Now I'm pushing this slider here because we're running out of time. So, and methane is a very potent greenhouse gas. So now we are already below 2 degrees Celsius, and I'm wondering whether we can do a little bit more. How about planting a few trees, and let's do this, and we are at 1.8. So, wow, you have just created a 2 degrees Celsius scenario. Yes, give yourself a round of applause, exactly. But let's have a look at the scenario. What does the scenario mean? It means you have installed a high carbon price, and you agreed that we want to pay back to the people with a carbon dividend. We talked about how fair this is. You are pushing the renewables. This means that we are producing local jobs. You are investing in energy efficiency, so there is insulating houses, for example. You're again creating local jobs. And many people were in the winter, they don't know, especially the lower half of the income distribution, they don't know whether, it's a difficult question for them, shall I eat or heat? So now when you insulate, for example, social housing, you are doing a lot what we call multi-solving on this side, so helping the people. You are electrifying transportation, buildings, and industry. You are planting more trees. The planet is getting much greener. You are stopping deforestation, which also means that you are leaving the large trees alive, which take up so large tree takes up more carbon than small trees. You're introducing best practices in agriculture and in industry, and you're taking care of the waste. I want to know from you, what do you love about being part of this future? What do you love about being part of this future? Before I show you this, I want you to reflect on this question by me showing you the impacts. Because we have phased out the fossil fuels, air quality is becoming better immediately. Those of you who are suffering from bad air quality, asthma, and so on, this will be a huge relief. Let's have a look at deaths from extreme heat days. So still more than today, but much less than in the baseline scenario. And don't get me wrong, the scenario you just created is not a safe scenario, but it is a much safer scenario compared to the baseline that we were seeing in the beginning. Let's have a look at more. For example, biodiversity. We are seeing that still more species are losing their climatic range, but not as much as in the baseline scenario. How about food? How about food? There we go. Also much less than in the baseline scenario. And when you look at extreme heat days, let's just have a look at this. Takes a bit to load, but now, so this is the new scenario, and when you look at the baseline, you see that we are actually doing much better in this new world that you have just created. How about the economy? So with the economy, let's have a look at that. So you see that your scenario is much closer to a scenario in which there's no impact from climate change on the economy than in the baseline scenario. So everybody on this planet is doing better. So how do you feel about this? What would you love about being part of this future? This is my question to you, and I want you to tell me this now and type it in right here. What would you love about being part of this future? Good. What would you love? Is it? Yes. So, okay, you're contributing, exactly. So you're contributing to the change. This is change now. We have to go into action. Survival of the planet. Peace. Yes, because we don't have to fight for the resources. Living. You're going to be happy. Yes, me too. It means that we all need to work together. And exactly this is what this conference is for. It's about collaborative action. We are creating a new culture with this. It is a future worth living, not only for us, for our generation, but also for the future generations to come. It is aligned with your core values. That's excellent. You will feel safer in this world, safer and healthier. Peace, more linked to nature. The future is going to be enkelfähig, which means that it's in line with the living conditions of your grandchildren. You're contributing equity, healthier, inclusive. This is all fantastic. Can you tell me very quickly, oops, no, that's the wrong one. What are you going to do next until the summer break? I want you to be very clear and very precise. What do you want to do differently because of what you just learned? It can be, for example, I want to learn how to run such a session as I have just done. I want to learn how to use En-ROADS for my own thinking. I want to show En-ROADS, for example, to my peers, to my organization, or I want to buy an EV, or maybe I want to call my politician and advocate for a carbon price. I want to call him every day, every week to actually make this happen. What is coming to your mind? Maybe insulating your house. What do you want to do? And let's have a look at what you're suggesting. You want to plant 10,000 trees. You want to be more vegetarian. You walk to work instead of maybe using your car. Find a job for change. Oh, this has personal impact. I like this. Less meat. You want to educate yourself. Change my energy provider. Insulate my flat. Fantastic. Heat pumps. No flying. Sometimes it's necessary, but you reduce your flights. Promote nature-based solutions from the global south. Think about all the multi-solving aspects. Heat, less meat. Promote ecological economic system. Learn how to lobby government. This is very important. Get the politicians to change. I know I know in the simulator we've just pulled the sliders. It's not easy, but it's going to be worth it. So go get them. Thanks so much.